It is Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, broadcasting live via 5 Reasons YouTube. I hope everyone is having an awesome Tuesday. We have so much to get to today. Donno Daily is brought to you, as always, by our official sportsbook, BetUS.com. Guys, you can bet with the 3-decade leader, BetUS. Join now for a 125% signing bonus or 200% bonus if you deposit with crypto if you use our promo code 5RSN125. You see it on the screen right there. 5RSN125, and bet sports, casino, horses, pop culture, and more at BetUS.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. We are also served by the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Guys, they have the freshest seafood like oysters, Maine lobster, and sushi. I love the buffalo shrimp. Make the Quarterdeck your spot to watch every UFC pay-per-view fight with zero cover charge. The Quarterdeck. Come for the food, stay for the fun. We're going to have a loaded show, my friends. Oh, did you guys just catch me in a pick? Was that a pick or a scratch? You will never know. Loaded show today at 12:15. We're going to talk all things Miami Heat with our good friend Brady Hawk, who is the Doogie Howser MD of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. You would never know this dude is 18 years old. I have literally twice the life experience and yet half the knowledge that Brady Hawk possesses. So he's going to join us at 12:15. 12:40 today, we're going to talk with Louis D. Sung. We're going to get down to some Miami Dolphins business, training camp, Tua, depth chart. We've got some nuggets to get into with the first depth chart released by the Miami Dolphins. So a lot of stuff to get down to business with Louis on. We're also going to hear from one of the newest members of the 5 Reasons Sports family today to give us an update around the world of sports. Moni Lebro is going to be a part of the program today. We're going to get her update on Messi, some Inter Miami stuff, some other good nuggets from her. So let me say good afternoon, as we like to do at this time, to the Jesse Pinkman, to my Walter White. He's going to protect me today, even though we're not actually broadcasting from the same location. But Sean Stanley is going to be on notice in case today, like yesterday, we start to get the Goodfellas chopper circling around, because they were looking for me. I felt like Ray Liotta and Goodfellas, the chopper kept circling. So Sean, God forbid, if anything happens to me today, I hope you're ready to take over, you and Manny, on a minute's notice.
I will be ready to take over, but then watch me in the small corner when I'm not on the screen. If I'm pointing to the air, you know what's coming. The helicopter is in the air.
You might see it before me, if we're being completely honest. So let me start off with a Miami Heat-related topic that is literally dividing nations. I think the peaceful country of Canada might have declared war on Slovenia. I think Toronto Raptors fans are fighting with Miami Heat fans and vice versa. You know, I love me some Goran Dragic, and I'm very sad to see him go. At least I assume he's going. I think the only way he comes back this season would be if the NBA, God forbid, were to void the Kyle Lowry trade, which I'm hoping but not expecting. I'm hoping they don't do it. I'm not expecting that they will do it, but I know that there is this Fugazi tampering investigation going on that we talked about throughout the show yesterday. Goran Dragic, who is no longer a member of the Miami Heat officially, he did an interview with Slovenian television that's got everybody talking. First thing, you may not have noticed this right away, because admittedly, I didn't notice this the first time I watched the video clip, but then Ethan Skolnick of 5 Reasons tweeted about it, and I'm like, yeah, by God, this guy knows he just got traded, and yet he's wearing the red Heat culture t-shirt. So right there, that goes to show you how Goran Dragic feels about this organization. They just traded him to another freaking country. They traded him to Canada in the Kyle Lowry deal, and yet Goran Dragic is still repping the Miami Heat. That is beautiful. I love it. That's how you show your appreciation to an organization. Unlike Shaquille O'Neal, when he got traded away, he's excreting all over the Heat organization. He's taking shots at Riley. He was taking shots at Chris Quinn. He was taking shots at the late, great trainer, Ron Culp. LeBron James, when he left, didn't thank Miami Heat fans. Goran Dragic gets traded, and the man is wearing a Heat culture t-shirt. I love it. But Dragic was in a little bit of hot water, and he did make a statement/apology to Toronto Raptors fans today. He was speaking to the media in his native Slovenian. I don't understand a fucking word of Slovenian, yet I did watch this interview a few times, and he said Toronto is not my preferred destination. This was translated, of course. I didn't translate it. Toronto is not my preferred destination, he said. I have higher ambitions. Okay. Now, you can imagine the Toronto Raptor fans didn't take kindly to this. Okay. Now, a couple of thoughts that pop into my mind on what Dragic said about the Toronto Raptors. First and foremost, Raptors fans, you guys did come in 12th last year. So when he talks about having higher ambitions, maybe you don't take it so personally, okay? Maybe you understand that Goran Dragic might be coming from a place of actual authority on that topic. The other thing is, and I hate to be this guy, okay, but as someone who covers international soccer and we read interviews that are translated from many, many different languages like Spanish, which I don't speak fluently, Italian, which I speak pretty well, French, which I don't speak a lick of, Portuguese, etc. Oftentimes you see hatchet jobs coming from Google Translate. Oftentimes you see bad translation, things get lost in context. So I honestly wonder, because I'm being fair to Goran here, and I hope my Canadian friends, and I do have a lot of Canadian friends, many of which are Toronto Raptors fans, who are, probably none too happy with Mr. Dragic right now. I hope you guys also at least open up to the possibility that when you do a Google Translate job on that, when he says, I have higher ambitions, I don't know exactly how those words all translate to English in a literal sense. I don't know what sort of context is lost there. So when you hear him say, translated to English, I have higher ambitions, it's easy to interpret that as a shot. Dragic might have just been saying, I have something different in mind. I am hoping to land somewhere else for whatever reason. But anytime you throw in the phrase higher ambitions, I understand why people are going to take offense to that. Now, Dragic did come out and make a statement to Toronto Raptors fans. And even though I think there's a pretty good chance that's not going to be ending up where he sticks, I think he might end up traded again. And I'm sure Raptors fans would probably want that at this point. But Dragic said, my message basically to all Toronto fans is, I would like to apologize. He said, it didn't come out the right way. I know they love their team and they should be proud. It is one of the best organizations in the NBA. They've already won a championship and I didn't. So what I said, it was not appropriate. Right now, I'm with Toronto, and that's my main thing to think about. And the key words there being right now. Dragic is not expecting to stick there, but he also doesn't want to have an entire country north of the border angry at him for, reasons of him making some stupid remarks in Slovenian. So I think it was really cool and really classy for Dragic to come out and apologize to Toronto after those remarks have essentially caused Canadians to declare war on the country of Slovenia. But I want to talk about Dragic here for a second. I do agree fully that the Miami Heat have upgraded. Even though Lowry and Dragic are the same age, you can't really tell me anything Goran Dragic does better right now than Kyle Lowry does. I think Kyle Lowry is an upgrade, especially on the defensive end of the floor, and I think he's got a little bit more of a spark to hit big shots than Dragic has had. Goran Dragic is one of my favorite Miami Heat point guards of all time, and if I'm making maybe a top 25 Miami Heat players list of all time, I would likely include Dragic on that list. I am that fond of him, but I do agree the Heat upgraded here, and yet you look at this entire situation, you look at the tapestry of everything going on with Goran. So classy, so grateful. He made an awesome statement to the Heat organization and Heat fans as well. Ethan Skolnick tweeted something out last night, and I think he hit the nail on the head that I certainly would not be surprised if Goran Dragic ends up finishing his career with the Miami Heat. That this is one of those situations where they're, in the meantime, the Heat needed to use Dragic as a trade piece. I think he still has a few years left in the tank. Right, maybe not as a starting point guard, but I think he still has a few years left in his tank as a quality veteran backup. And you see the tweet there from 5 Reasons Sports. I bet Goran Dragic finishes his career in Miami. Honestly, I think stronger about this than I did at the time Dwayne Wade was left. That D Wade would finish his career in Miami. That one blindsided me. I mean, how do you feel about this, Sean Stanley? Because I was so happy that Dwayne Wade finished his career in Miami, but at the time that he left to go to Chicago, and you had the dispute with Mickey, the haggling over money, and D Wade felt disrespected, I was really afraid that those fences would never get mended. And I thought, oh my God, there's always going to be hard feelings between Dwayne, Riley, Dwayne, and Mickey. We're never going to see this guy in a Heat uniform again. I knew Riley would step up and retire his number and all that classy stuff that Riley does, but I really thought that that would be the end of Dwayne Wade in a Heat uniform. I feel completely different about this Goran Dragic thing. I'm 80%. I am 80% convinced that at some point in the next couple of seasons, Pat Riley finds a way to bring back Goran, Sean, probably at next to nothing. He'll bring him back on a veteran's minimum, and he'll finish his career probably one season in South Beach.
I mean, that's a possibility if you look at it. My thing is, I see him probably, everything said that he was probably going to end up in Dallas. I mean, does he want to leave Luka once he gets there to come back to Miami? I just don't know that it's, I think if the Heat, maybe if you have a choice as a fan, you want, Dragic back in a Heat uniform for everything he's done. But I don't see that playing out though. I really do not see him unless it's one of those deals again, Wade got traded back at the end when Chicago's not doing good. Possibly that happens, but I just don't see it happening as far as being a mutual decision. I think it plays out to where, okay, let's bring them back in, maybe there, but I don't see it being oh, we got to sign somebody. We signed Goran.
By the way, I'm just thinking of how to trigger some Heat fans. Can you imagine if 3 years from now, on the end of your bench, you've got I don't know how old he would be by this point. You have a 42-year-old Udonis Haslem sitting next to a 38-year-old Goran Dragic on the same bench, and they're taking up the 14th and 15th roster spots. I think only two people on planet Earth would like that, and I know I'm one of them. I'm not sure who the other one is.
What would you have? A 35-year-old Kyle Lowry?
He'd be 38 years old by that point as well.
He's 35 now. I'm sorry.
He's 35 now.
Butler would be how old?
34.
You would have a whole roster, a whole position of the bench there. You're talking about an aging team.
It would be Ice Cube's big three, basically. Ooh. Can you imagine that? I know. There
they are.
There you go. The 85 and older team. Can you imagine? I would love it though.
Oh.
I know so many Heat fans who are just triggered, and it's their prerogative and it's their perspective. They're so triggered by Udonis Haslem taking up the final roster spot. The only way that would have made me a little upset is if the Heat couldn't sign Yurtseven because of Haslem, but they found a way to get the Yurtseven thing done for 2 years. So at this point, I don't care. As long as my Turkish delight is on the team, I'm not upset.
This is all I'll say to them. You be Pat Riley. You go into that room and you tell Udonis Haslem that you're cutting him. I am not going to sit there and go face to face with Udonis Haslem for everything he's meant. And apparently, Andrew is.
Thank you, Andrew. Andrew stepping up with the donation.
Yeah,
He would be one of those people like me.
I would go in with a full body armor and everything else, because Udonis is not going to go out. He's not going out without a fight. I'm telling you now.
I would see if Dwayne Wade wants to unretire and come back and go for one last ride, right? Instead of one last dance, call it the one last ride.
He's saying Haslem can stay forever. Okay.
I'm with him on that. As long as he gets in his 5 minutes once a year, final game of the season, let UD play his 5 minutes, let him pick up a couple of quick fouls and a technical, let him get ejected. Dude, the 5 minutes that Udonis Haslem played last season were the most 5 enjoyable minutes of Miami Heat basketball last year.
He used to be, back in the day, the NHL, when you watched hockey, they had the little goon guy. When everything wasn't going your way, you sent him out on the ice, and he just went headhunting. That's what you need to do with UD. Send him out there 2 to 3 minutes a game, pick up a hard foul. If he stays in, he stays in. Get you maybe a point or so. Come back to the bench. The complexity of the game will change immediately.
By the way, shortly, we're going to be talking some Miami Heat basketball with Brady Hawk. I want to pick his brain, not only on all this Dragic stuff, I want to pick his brain on Summer League. I want to pick his brain on Yurtseven. And Brady Hawk is ready. So let's bring in the man that I call the Doogie Howser MD of 5 Reasons Sports, because he's basically got his doctorate at 18 years old. He's schooling the rest of us. Brady Hawk here from the network is with us. Brady, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me on again.
It's our pleasure, man. It's our pleasure. And first things first, let me ask you, Brady, your take on what Ethan was tweeting about, I think either late last night or early this morning. You know, all this Goran Dragic stuff, you know, he's on his way, at least temporarily, to Toronto. He's got the whole mess with what he said to Slovenian TV, but he's even wearing the Heat culture shirt, Brady, when he's out there doing this interview. Do you have the same hunch that he's going to end up back in Miami before he retires, that he's going to retire in a Heat uniform?
Yeah, and I've said I don't think it's going to be a Heat push. I think it's actually going to be a Jimmy Butler push. I think it's going to be towards the end of the Jimmy Butler era where you're going to see him kind of want to, team back up with him. He was a big Goran Dragic fan. They were really close, obviously friends, but this is a win now situation. Jimmy Butler wants to win. You bring in a Kyle Lowry type who obviously propels you in the right direction. That it just feels like down the line, Jimmy Butler's going to walk into the front office and say, let's try to get Goran back at the end of this and kind of see what happens from there. It just feels like that's where they're heading. But obviously, if he does end up in Dallas where we kind of expect him to, that's kind of be in the range where Luka's going to be really excelling. He's going to be a couple years down the line where he's going to be at the top of the league. Where is he going to leave? We'll kind of see where it stands, at that time. But right now, it feels like Jimmy Butler would try to make that push.
Do you think, and I agree with you, Dallas is likely where he ends up, but is there any chance he does stick in Toronto? Because I wonder if that's why he wanted to make sure to apologize, because if he does stick there, the fans will not be happy unless he explains himself really well.
Yeah, I just can't see the fan base welcoming him. It just does not seem possible at this stage. Like I don't think he fits what they're trying to do right now. You can see the direction they're trying to go in. They're getting young guys. They're developing them. Would go on welcome, trying to mentor some of these guys. Maybe that he's one of the nicest guys in the league. That's a known thing. He probably would do it if he had to, but obviously at this stage, at the end of his career, he wants to join a team like Dallas and try to make a push in a more of a useful role than a mentor role. But I just think it's going to be hard to see a fan base welcome him.
Yeah, agreed. Brady Hawk is with us here on Donno Daily on 5R Live. Your take on this tampering investigation, Brady, and Miami aren't the only one. Chicago are getting looked into as well for Lonzo Ball. I think we all kind of have a hunch on which NBA owner may have complained and urged the league to look into this. And it may be, the guy who's going to be, owning the team that Goran Dragic ends up with. But what do you think comes out of this tampering investigation, if anything?
I think it's just going to end up being maybe a future second. Like if I had to guess, that just seems the direction it would go. It's pretty clear. I think everybody has the same idea that the tampering thing is it's just so uneven with the way they go about it. None of it really makes sense. You're looking at it from a perspective that you think all teams are really picking up the phone at 6:00 on the dot on a Thursday afternoon. It just none of it seems possible to really go about it that way. It's just never going to be like that. They're going to go after Miami just after pass, type things. With the big three, just after all that stuff, they're going to kind of label them in that department. But none of it really seems like it's aligned. Every team's doing it. Every team's trying to go after guys beforehand, trying to, jump the gun a little bit. That it just kind of felt like that was the direction they were going to go either way if Kyle Lowry did end up in Miami. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be an incident where they reverse a trade or anything major happens. It just seems like maybe a future second in the future.
Brady, I know you have paid very close attention to Summer League, and we got a couple of gem performances from Omer Yurtseven that the Heat were able to lock up. What kind of a role could you see him filling this year? Because I don't really expect him to be a part of the rotation unless maybe there are injuries in the power rotation, or do you think Omer could end up playing a sizable role this year?
I don't think he'll be in the rotation immediately, but Dwayne Dedmon was a great pickup. We talked about that. Getting him back in the backup role is really important, but we haven't seen him play for a whole season. It's been quite some time. He had that just a short stretch down the stretch last season where if he sits out some games where you kind of expect that to go that route, Omer would probably step into a backup role. The thing about Omer is that you kind of look at Precious Achiuwa as an example that he was not going to fit next to Bam Adebayo. Like it just did not seem possible. Both of them were kind of, they kind of tried to go after the route of getting another Bam, which obviously he was not another Bam, but the same undersized role who does not shoot the three. Now you have a lengthy guy who can shoot the three, plays inside. It's just a totally different guy that you can see him playing next to Bam if possible. And it just falls under the category of all the guys they've gone after in this realm. He just ton of upside, and he can produce at the moment where, I don't want to compare the Kendrick Nunns, the Duncan Robinsons to every young guy that steps into this system, but it just seems like what he was doing in Summer League in those first 2 games in Sacramento was special. He's just very talented, and I could see him translating well in a backup role next season.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I get so bullish on young guys, prospects. Someone we got a chance to have a nice look at last season was Max Strus. What have you seen from the Strus Goose in Summer League, and how much do you think he can add to his game this year?
Yeah, looking at the guys, obviously Tyler Hero, Markieff Morris, and Dedmon will probably be the 3 off the bench, but there's still that other slot if they don't pick somebody up that somebody's going to have to slide in. And I don't think there's a way that Max Strus is the headliner at the moment. It seems like the Heat trust him more than any of the other guys. So far in Summer League, the first game, he had a very high-scoring game, and I've said I didn't think he played his best game. And that's kind of where I stand with Max Strus. He's a very good catch-and-shoot player. The comparisons to Duncan Robinson are just unfair because, honestly, other than being put in the type of role that he was in last season, I just don't think they're very similar at all. Duncan's more lengthy, and obviously Strus is a little bit more stocky, that they don't even have the same player build. And Strus is getting put in these situations right now where he's getting the ball in his hands. He's not just a catch-and-shoot guy. He's running pick and rolls. He's shooting off the dribble. He's driving hard. There's a lot of upside with him on the ball, where I think that's where the fit in the rotation becomes a lot more likely if he's able to do that type of stuff. But obviously they're going to put him in a spot-up role, and he is such a deadly shooter where the contest just doesn't matter. He's a very confident shooter where if he comes out the gate 0 for 4 from 3, he's going to keep shooting and he's going to bury a couple. So that's a type of Miami Heat guy they like. He's has a good mindset, and I just feel like he's the guy right now at the moment that they could slot into the rotation.
I love it. Brady Hawk is with us here from the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and I encourage you guys at 5reasonsports.com to check out Brady's latest piece where he broke down not only Max Strus, but some of the other top Summer League performers. And Brady, I'd love to hear your synopsis on Marcus Garrett, because I noticed from your piece, this is a player you're having a hard time coming up with a Heat comp to, because we always do that with players. We'll say, oh, he's like, guy X, Y, and Z who was here 5, 10, 15 years ago. Why are you having trouble coming up with a comp for Garrett?
Yeah, I think we've seen players like him in the sense of a defensive guy who we don't know where he was going to be offensively, but the difference is that I'd never really seen a guy this sound on the defensive end this soon. He really does not have a weakness on that end. Like he can guard on the ball. He's quick. He can hit passing lanes. He can play off the ball. His wingspan is so long that he's very good at contests. He's very good at, just getting in certain areas of the defense. It's just, he's a very special defender where obviously this guy that good, a guy that won Defensive Player of the Year in college, how did he go undrafted? I feel like a lot of people are wondering. It's because of some of the uneven stuff offensively. And I've seen a lot of flashes already that make you think he can survive on the offensive end. Last game was probably his best offensive game where he was, he knocked down 2 threes. He was playing the mid-range a bit more. He doesn't shoot a lot, but when he did, he was efficient. That's all he's going to need at the next level. If he can just survive on offense, the defensive stuff will carry over. I've said I think he's pretty much a lock for the two-way. It does not seem like a way that they're just going to overlook him. He's really special, and I just, like you said, I just can't see a comp from him at the moment just because he's just so solid already in just 3 Summer League games.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you something elsewhere in the NBA. And Manny, back there, if you could pull up the Undisputed tweet. Now, this is a little bit of a spoiler for the Terrible Take Tuesday segment we're going to do, but I want Brady to weigh in on this. And Brady, I apologize for doing this salacious, YouTube thing where I'm going to make you react to a clown like Skip Bayless. Like we all know he's a clown, but he tweeted something that's sparking a lot of dialogue here. This will be nothing less than a disaster for LeBron James, he said. I like every move the Lakers made except Westbrook. Russ will consider this his team more than LeBron's. I mean, to me, Brady, it's just such a recycled, lazy take, in my opinion, just to assume that Russ is going to come in, A, with no respect for LeBron James, and he does command respect from everybody in that league, and that B, Russ, who hasn't won a ring and hasn't even been to the finals since 2012, is going to have so much ego that he's going to be unwilling to try and fit within a unit to get that elusive championship. Just like I know Russ has that reputation. I thought that was a ridiculous take from Skip. How do you see that dynamic with Russ at the Lakers playing out?
Yeah, I think the reputation of Russ is a little uneven because I don't see him as that type of guy. He's always been, a respected guy amongst the lead among players that he's going to take a bit of a backseat. I think they're going to try to, LeBron or Russ, I don't think is going to try to be the main guy. I think they want Anthony Davis to be the young guy, the guy who's going to take over in that spot. And if they come to an agreement and do that, I don't see a way that wouldn't work out. It just seems like it is a recycled type take that these guys are just going to not mesh correctly just because they've been alphas on their own teams in the past. That's just not the case when we've seen guys come together. That's not happened much. When you look at superstars coming together, it always basically works out in the most part where one guy kind of takes a step back. And LeBron's such an unselfish type player. Westbrook, he's a high level passer. It just seems like they would be able to mesh well. And if Anthony Davis is the guy that steps up and kind of takes control, then it definitely can work out.
Really good stuff here, as always, from Brady Hawk. You guys want to make sure you check out his work at 5reasonsports.com. And if you're interested in, learning a little bit more about what the Heat have been doing in Summer League and the breakdowns, the piece we talked about that Brady recently published is excellent. So make sure you check out his work, 5reasonsports.com. Brady Hawk, thank you so much, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Always love catching up with Brady. All right, so guys, in a few minutes, we are officially going to kick off Terrible Take Tuesday. We're going to air out some bad sports takes. Now, we open these up every week. It could be sports, could be bad food takes, could be pop culture takes. I think all the takes we have, we tipped our hand a little bit with that Skip Bayless thing. I think all the takes we have today are bad sports takes. Before we get to that, want to give the floor to one of the newest members of the 5 Reasons Sports family. This will give you guys an update on everything going on with Lionel Messi, some stuff on Inter Miami and the Olympics, which I'm actually thankful closed up this past week because I kind of thought these Olympics were a bit of a sham and they should not have been done. After postponing them 1 year for COVID, I guess they felt like they had the obligations, the TV contracts. It just like there were some great moments from it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I wasn't really into these summer games. But let's hand the floor to Moni Lebro with 5 on 5.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the very first 5 on 5 episode. My name is Moni Lebro, and I'm going to be your 5 on 5 host. Here on 5 on 5, we're going to talk about what's going down in South Florida sports and whatever else is rocking the sports world at the moment. And guess what we're going to start with right now? That's right, the biggest rock star in soccer right now, Lionel Messi. Leo's exit from Barcelona has been presiding over the sports world for about 5 days now. And I'm sure you saw all the pictures from Leo during that farewell press conference in front of his teammates and his wife and his kids and everyone else at FC Barcelona. We saw him crying and fighting those tears to get his words out. I want to go over a little bit of Messi's numbers at Barcelona before we dig deeper into his career. After La Masia, which is FC Barcelona's youth system, Messi played with Barca for the next 17 years of his life. He appeared in 778 matches and is the highest goal scorer in the club with 670 goals. During his time at Barca, he won 10 La Liga titles, 7 Copa del Rey, 8 Spanish Super Cups, and 4 Champions League trophies, along with other international tournaments. The total of titles he won with FC Barcelona is 45. With the intense speculation about Messi's arrival in Paris, the Argentinian will take number 19 jersey, a number he sported during his early years in Barcelona when Ronaldinho still held onto number 10. But what should be the biggest priority for Messi right now as he steps out of FC Barcelona and possibly joins Paris Saint-Germain? Well, he needs to prioritize his health. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to stay active because he has a bigger task at hand at the moment. Remember, he still wants to take his national team, Argentina, to the 2022 Qatar World Cup. This means that he cannot afford losing any playing time. He needs those club playing minutes in order to be healthy. And the next international break, which takes place in early September, Argentina will play Bolivia, and they will play Brazil in the second fixture, and they will play the Brazilians in Rio after a very intense Copa America final. And now we're jumping onto the Olympic Games, which are over after a year-long delay and fighting with the pandemic. We saw a lot of world records. We saw a lot of medals, and I want to talk specifically about Team USA. I'm going to give you some very interesting stats. Team USA ended up with 113 medals, and they were finally able to top China in the gold medal count. So the USA ended with 39 gold medals, and China ended up with 38. But I want to give you some more numbers about Team USA. On screen, you see American swimmer Caleb Dressel, who won the most gold medals with a count of 5, and he also beat a world record with the relay team by 0.5 seconds. On the other hand, we have Allison Felix, who became the most decorated U.S. track athlete in the history of the Olympic Games with 11 medals. Felix has also competed in 5 consecutive Olympic Games, and right now she is 35 years old. The next time you'll see anything about the Olympics will be in 2024 when all the Olympic athletes head for Paris. But if you are missing a little bit of Olympic action, don't forget that the Winter Olympics are also taking place in 2022 in Beijing, China. But now let's talk some Miami football, because Inter Miami saw a win at home against Nashville. And this game, let me tell you, it was much more different than what we saw last week against Orlando City. This was a much more active game. A crazy last-minute header by Indiana Vasiliev with an assist from Fede Higuain. The Beckham squad redeemed themselves after an intense and dominant game with 15 shots, 9 shots on target, and 584 passes. On Sunday, we saw much more offensive Inter Miami, especially after that match with Orlando City, where they were much more defensively trapped. But on Sunday, Miami created a lot more chances, and although they made some defensive mistakes, they came out victorious. Their next match is against New York City at the Red Bull Arena. Don't miss it this weekend at 8 p.m. Thanks so much for tuning in with 5 on 5. Follow me on Twitter. My handle is @Moni Lebro, and make sure you hit that subscribe button to follow us on 5 Reasons Sports YouTube. We'll see you right here next Friday.
Awesome stuff there by Moni, and make sure everybody checks out 5 on 5. Great new series here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Want to send a shout out to those who have been partaking in the live chat. And guys, we interact. If you have a thought, no matter how psychotic and demented popping into your mind, throw it into the live chat. Questions, comments, you want to talk about how great Manny Chang is behind the scenes, drop them in the live comments. Hello, Andrew Green. Hello, Ray Gruyon. Good afternoon, sir. Hello, Abhishek. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. And pop that message on the screen for me, because I'm pretty sure this is Team Petty. I'm pretty sure this dude is taking a shot at LeBron James, which is always welcome. Quote, I formed a team with most number of all-stars selected in the history of the NBA. And I was like, that one right there made me the greatest of all time, with the crown emoji. So shots at LeBron are always welcome. Speaking of shots, friends, we do this every Tuesday. Favorite part of the week for me is Terrible Take Tuesday, and it's brought to you by our awesome friends at You Break Wheel Fix. Their repair and refinishing techs have over 20 years of experience dedicated to providing high-quality repairs for cracked, bent, or damaged rims and wheels. They get the job done quickly. They get it done right. They've got 5-star reviews on Google and Yelp. They love our local sports teams, by the way. Not only is You Break Wheel Fix going to repair your bent and cracked wheels, they can also pimp them out, my friends. You want your wheels done in Dolphins colors, Heat colors, Inter Miami, orange and green for the Canes. They will do it for you and make your ride look fresh at You Break Wheel Fix. So check them out, 1861 Northeast 146th Street in Miami, or on the web at youbreakwheelfix.com. So I thought that Moni's update there, especially the first part about Messi, is a good jumping off point for Terrible Take Tuesday. Shannon Sharp, I mean, my God. This is basically the, what do they call that show? The Undisputed? This is basically an undisputed bash fest today on Terrible Take Tuesday. So someone tweeted to Shannon, Ronaldo versus Messi is the greatest sporting rivalry we will ever see. For over 15 years, these two guys dominated soccer, he writes. Bird and Magic were great. Jordan quickly took over. Peyton and Brady was only about 5 years. It's Messi versus Ronaldo. But, guys, it's the response from Shannon Sharp. If I had a hair left on my head, I would have pulled them all out. Shannon Sharp tweets, how often has Messi / Ronaldo actually faced each other? How many times did one prevent the other from winning a title? Oh, it hurts. It just hurts. Like, bro, they played in the same league on rival clubs for 9 years. 9 years. Trophies, championships, La Liga titles were battled for 9 years between Ronaldo and Messi. It was an epic rivalry. Like, Shannon, feel free to Google. Have you ever heard of Bing.com, Google.com? Yeah, as Manny points out, they played against one another 35 times. 35 times Ronaldo and Messi squared off. I can tell you exactly what Shannon Sharp did. He was probably talking to a buddy of his, like, oh, they're tweeting me about this Ronaldo and Messi rivalry. Hold on, tell me, what country does Ronaldo play in? Italy. What country does Messi play in? Well, he's leaving Spain for France. Oh, well, they never played against each other. Like, bro, feel free to do a little research. Feel free to form an opinion before you spew out this nonsense. This reminds me of a conversation I had last Friday with Adam Borai when we were trying to put it in a context, just how big it was that Messi, after 21 years in the Barcelona system, going back to a youth player, was leaving Barca, how big that was. And I thought Adam Barai made a great point that people who only follow American sports, like Shannon Sharp, live in such a bubble that they do not understand or even bother to try and understand the context of a global game like soccer. And I thought Shannon Sharp's idiotic tweet was a perfect example of that. That was a terrible, terrible, terrible take. Okay, so you can flash up the Skip Bayless thing again. Brady Hawk said his piece on it, so I don't have to spend too much time on it. But this is a terrible take by Skip Bayless on Russell Westbrook joining the Lakers. This will be nothing less than a disaster for LeBron James, he said. I like every move the Lakers made except Westbrook. Russ will consider this his team more than LeBron's. It's not only a terrible take, it's a lazy take. Right. And we already know Russ has had those meetings, quote unquote, tampering with LeBron in the recent past. And this is a move he desperately wanted to make. He wants to win a ring. If you don't think Russ's desire to win a ring is going to trump his desire to have the ball in his hands at all times, if Skip turns out to be right about this, I will circle back. But in the meantime, a terrible take and a freaking lazy take, in my opinion. OK, how about this one? From Fox News. I'm sure they've had more than a few terrible takes in their day. So after the United States wins a gold medal in Olympic basketball, a gold medal, by the way, after the first couple of games, I didn't think they were going to win. Kevin Durant, Draymond Green were drunk during Team USA celebration. Oh my God. How dare they? How dare these two grown men over the age of 21 consume some adult beverages to celebrate a gold medal, one of the biggest moments any athlete in any sport could possibly attain? Oh my God. I mean, Fox News, you're acting as if these guys were hitting a crack pipe after winning a championship. It's an alcoholic beverage. Oh, how does this bother you so much? You know what? If I ever win a gold medal in anything, I won't. But if I ever win a gold medal in anything, you better believe I am getting piss drunk in the immediate aftermath of that. And if I get to take part in the parade to celebrate that gold medal, they're going to be holding me up like they were holding up Tom Brady. You remember Tom Brady at the boat party for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when he got out of that boat after he threw the Lombardi trophy from one boat to the other? Perfect spiral, I might add. They were literally holding Tom Brady up because he was so drunk after celebrating that. And I would venture a guess Fox News, because they love Tom Brady, probably didn't bring that one up, did they? Oh my God. I think we have one more here for Terrible Take Tuesday. Oh, and this is about our Miami Heat. Awful stuff here by Dan Greenberg, Stool Greeny from Barstool. And I don't hate Barstool as much as some people do, because I think they serve a purpose in providing bro science and mansers to sports fans, but Stool Greeny tweeted out, and he covers the Boston Celtics, just for some context here, okay? It's interesting that Pat Riley and the Heat don't catch the same flack for trading Dragic after he tried to gut through his injury during the finals, loved being there so they could upgrade a point guard. For them, it's just basketball business, right? Hold on a second. You make it sound like the Miami Heat divorced this guy and put him up for adoption right after he helped them get to the finals 2 years ago in the bubble. Greeny, do you know what the Heat did for Dragic after that finals run 2 years ago? They gave him a 2-year, $40 million deal, and they just opted in for those $19 million to make sure he gets paid, guaranteed money for his next destination. And by the way, Goran Dragic, after just getting traded, is walking around wearing a Heat culture shirt, and he still loves the organization. So don't tell me that the Heat discarded this guy like a used dish rag. No, the Heat did everything right by Dragic. Dragic understands. Dragic still loves the organization. He still loves the fans. And I believe he will play for Miami again before his career is over. It hurts. That's Terrible Take Tuesday. All right, a man who never brings up any terrible takes. This guy is pure class, content machine here from 5 Reasons Sports, and we love it. Covers the Miami Dolphins. Louis D. Sung is with us now, reacting to what we've seen at training camp so far. Louis, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you, my friend?
Doing really, really well, man. And first thing I want to get into with you, we have a depth chart out for the Miami Dolphins. Now, early, preseason depth chart, we take it with a grain of salt. But a couple of things that I found interesting on the offensive line, Liam Eichenberg, first-team left guard. Michael Dieter, first-team center, and I think he's been earning that throughout camp. Do you feel those jobs will be kept into the regular season? And did anything else from the depth chart jump out at you?
Generally speaking, from what I've noticed, is that whenever you have a set pattern that shows up in training camp, it's usually for a reason. That's why I'm starting to lean more and more that Jakeem Grant makes the roster, simply because he's always the first choice when it comes to returning kicks and punts, which is what he's been doing all along. The fact that Eichenberg has been moved to left guard, I think that says more about the Solomon Kinley situation than it really does about Liam Eichenberg. So Kinley's slowly been working his way back up. He's now working with the second team. He had been working with the third unit up until this point. So I'm hoping that as time goes on, Eichenberg ends up not having to be the left guard. But if he does, I guess it's not the worst thing in the world. Jesse Davis is a solid role player. I wish he could have been the utility backup, but not everything always turns out the way we want it to.
How much do we know about the health of Hunter Long right now?
Absolutely nothing other than the fact that he was carted off the field. The Miami Dolphins, ever since the Brian Flores regime started, they've basically been very hush-hush about the whole thing. We still, to this day, do not know the full details on what happened with Preston Williams back against the Arizona Cardinals. All we know is that his leg got twisted up. He didn't come back. And whenever we ask, is he okay? It's like, we're looking at it. We're making sure it's taken care of. We still don't know what happened. We still don't know what caused it. And I'm pretty sure that we never will. So yeah, Hunter Long is the same.
It is very Belichickian, the way that they run these injury reports. Louis D. Sung is with us here, covers the Miami Dolphins, does it very well for 5 Reasons Sports. Something I'm curious about so far in training camp, how much have we seen from Myles Gaskin and the running game? Because obviously so many of the highlights that get pointed out from camp are Tua in the passing game. Ever since the pads came on, it's been the Bernardrick McKinney show. But what about Myles Gaskin? How much have we seen from him, Louis?
Well, with Gaskin, it's just a simple matter of, again, the offensive line is going to make or break whether he does it or not. He does look bigger. He does look like he's being more aggressive, which is good because that's how he's going to have to make his point, if that's how you want to put it. It's simply a matter of that he doesn't have blazing speed, so he has to make up for it in other areas. Now, if that means he can become a little more of a hard-nosed runner, then that works for Miami. This team is not going to be based on running the football. It's going to be a complement to the offense, but make no mistake, this is going to be a pass-first offense. This is going to be a heavy passing offense, which I think is the best choice anyway, because the way that Tua's been slinging the football against our potentially top 5 defense, I have to emphasize that, potentially top 5 defense, And the way that Tua's slinging the football, now he's getting some of his weapons back. We got Gesicki back from the COVID list, and we haven't even added that factor to the offense yet. So you kind of get this idea that Gaskin's not going to be used as like a workhorse 20 carry kind of running back. But we knew that anyway. But the point is that passing the football is going to be the focus.
You know, Lewis, over the first few days of camp, the clear MVP was Albert Wilson. Now that we're about 2 weeks in, would you still say it's him, or has someone else emerged to this point where you would say he's been the most valuable player so far?
Well, if you're talking just in terms of wide receivers, I would say that Wilson and Waddle both are making some serious contributions to this offense. The connection that they have with Tua, it's kind of scary when you think about it. I was one of the ones who were basically saying that Wilson was a lock to make the roster just because I know what kind of talent he had, and that seems to be being proven now. Waddle, just because they know each other from Alabama, he's going to be like a security blanket for Tua. As far as the actual MVP of the entire training camp, I mean, it's hard to pick out anybody other than Tua, only because he's the one who's been making all the plays. He's where all the excitement is. He's where everything else is happening. You can't even say Xavier Howard because he hasn't been contributing. You can't say that it's been any of the offensive linemen because obviously they've struggled a little bit. You could make the argument that Zach Sealer and Christian Wilkins and Raekwon Davis, that whole defensive unit, are basically showing out, which they are. Mm-hmm. But as far as the MVP of camp, it's hard to pick out anybody except Tua, just from how massive of a jump it seems to be from year 1 to year 2.
You brought up Xavier Howard. I'm glad you did, because I want your take on the resolution. I called it yesterday. Tell me if I was overselling this, Lewis. I called it a W for everyone involved, right? Because, you know, you're showing X and his agent that, hey, you know what? Yeah, we are willing to take care of you after outplaying your contract last year. But at the same time, the Dolphins didn't give him so much where they were, as some people feared, setting this crazy precedent that, oh, they're renegotiating a guy with 4 years left. Most of it's incentive-based. I also think when people are afraid to set the precedent of renegotiating a deal with that long left, I also would be afraid of setting the precedent that we are not a player-friendly organization, because I think you walk a delicate line. And I'm so conscious to this because I'm also a Miami Heat fan, and I see the emphasis that Pat Riley puts on trying to take care of players and taking care of veterans. So I think the Dolphins also did want to show a sign of good faith that, hey, yeah, listen, this is an organization. You know, I know you can never really call any team a true family, because I think players are figuring out that football is a business. But at least the Dolphins have set the precedent in that, hey, you know, if you have the sort of season that X just had, we're going to find a way within reason to take care of you. So did you see it as a W for all sides, or do you have some reservations about what the Dolphins did here?
I wouldn't say that I necessarily have reservations about what they did. The only thing that I would say is that, again, this kind of just boils down to whether you believe that Howard should have been in this situation at all in the first place. Again, I was the one who, I hear you can call this my terrible take Tuesday, is that I don't feel like he outplayed his contract. I feel like he played up to the contract that he was signed to in the first place. But that's neither here nor there now. They gave him his extra guarantees. They gave him the incentives. And mind you, I looked at the contract. If I'm not mistaken, it's 16.4 that he has the potential to make now if he meets all of his incentives, correct?
Yes, I believe that. I recall that number from yesterday.
Well, Byron Jones's cap hit for 2021 is 16.1, so we have successfully made it so that yes, I am now making more than Byron Jones, so I am happy now. That's what it just kind of screams like to me. But I can't say that I can definitely say that yes, overall in the grand scheme of things, it was a win-win for both sides. Howard's happy. The Dolphins didn't give up too much. All right, so there we go. Thank you very much. So where is it? It's the.
Hold on, I think he's looking through. I don't know if he has the cap hit.
Well, that's 2022.
Yeah, 2022.
Yeah. So the max for 20. So the max for 20 is 16.2. 16.2, Donno.
So they very deliberate the way that they negotiated this. Very deliberate.
Like, there, are you happy now? You're making more than Byron Jones. It's like that's the part of it that just makes me go, okay, I'm rolling my eyes now. But regardless, Howard's happy. good. He's going to play, no questions asked. As long as he stays healthy, he meets all of his incentives, whatever. We can renegotiate afterwards. As far as I'm concerned, this is only good for the Dolphins. And if he decides he wants to renegotiate, the only thing that's going to say that it's bad is if he pulls this same stunt next year. Then I'm going to be like, I've had enough. It's time for you to go. We'll find someone else.
So, by the way, one last thing I wanted to ask you on the way out. I feel like such a dummy for not looking into this. Maybe you know this. Maybe this question has been asked to Flo. So, obviously with the change of the schedule format this year, 17 regular season games, 3 preseason games. How do you expect teams to handle then what becomes the dress rehearsal, right? Because it was always the 3rd preseason game out of 4 is when you play your starters for about a half into the 3rd quarter sometimes. Does that stay the 3rd preseason game, or does that become the 2nd preseason game now?
I mean, logically, I could assume that the 2nd preseason game is the one that gets to decide how good they are, or maybe they won't even have a dress rehearsal game at all. The fact that we even have to say this, they play for a half and then we quickly roll them back because we're panicking that somebody's going to get hurt. Maybe at this point, they just be like, listen, we know who our starters are. We know how they function. We don't really necessarily need them to do all this. And remember, the Dolphins are getting 2, not 1, 2 joint practices this season. One against the Chicago Bears they're traveling to now, and then to the Atlanta Falcons back in Miami. So maybe they'll decide, you know what, we don't really need a dress rehearsal. We've seen them against other competition in practice, and I don't think they will, but that's a possibility we can think about. And plus, we need that 3rd preseason game to finally figure out those fringe players. So I think if anything, they'll make the 2nd preseason game a dress rehearsal, or they may not have one at all.
Right on. Good stuff here as always from Louis D. Sung. You want to check him out on Twitter. Is that the handle, Louis? Is it Louis D. Sung?
That is correct.
That right?
Louis, the letter D, Sung.
And, of course, 5reasonsports.com. Louis, thank you so much, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
My pleasure, Donno. Hey, go Pineapple.
Oh, he had to throw in the pineapple on Pizza Jet. That's not the worst thing we've seen. You remember? Oh, man, he pumping his fist as well. For those of you watching last Friday, we have our Foodie Friday segments. We showed you a picture of some absolute Neanderthal who puts ketchup on their pizza. And that's worse than pineapple. Confirmed. That is absolutely worse than pineapple.
I got to agree with that one, too.
Yeah, even our ketchup expert, Sean Stanley. And, Sean, I want to run this quote by you because after hearing this perspective from Tua, I can't not root for this guy. Like I don't have any way of guaranteeing that he's a franchise quarterback. I hope he is. I think he can be. I'm bullish on Tua. I've been wrong before in projecting NFL talent. I remember being pretty excited when the Dolphins drafted Ryan Tannehill back in 2012, and that just ended up being 7 years of purgatory for me. But I root so much for Tua, not only because I'm a Dolphins fan, but I root for him on a personal level because this guy, he is wise beyond his years, his perspective. If he was weaker-minded, I think the way he gets covered would crush him. Like it would crush a lesser person, right? The way he was scrutinized after his rookie year, if Tua didn't have a strong mind, I think it would be soul crushing for him. But then I read this quote. I saw this relayed via NFL Network. Tua said, quote, "When you look at it, there's 5 cars in front of you," he said. "The first car is a Mercedes. 3 cars ahead is a Bentley. If your focus is on the Bentley 3 cars ahead of you, you might get into a car accident because you're not focused on what's right in front of you. That's my whole perspective," he says, "just worrying about what's in front of me. I've always been self-motivated," he continued. "I've been confident in knowing what I can do. I don't really need motivation from elsewhere or from outside noise. That goes to the point, taking it day to day," he said. "It's something that Coach Flo would say in team meetings, one meeting at a time, one walkthrough at a time, one practice at a time. For me, it's been working," Tua said. He told this to Judy Batista of NFL Network. And I love it because so much of the scrutiny that Tua gets are people comparing him to previous rookies that came before him or to the rookie who was right next to him and drafted a spot behind him in Justin Herbert. And Tua has the right attitude that if I'm comparing myself to the best quarterbacks in the league right now or the best rookie in the league last year, I'm going to get into an accident, that I cannot be focusing on 2, 3, 4 cars in front of me. I need to be focused on my own driving. So honestly, like after reading something like that, I'm in disbelief that what is this guy, 22 years old, and he has perspective like that. I'm a grown man, Sean. I'm pushing 40. I think you're over 40, and I'm still seeking perspective like that.
No, 100%. And I think a lot of that does come from, if you saw everything that he went through at Alabama, not that he went through everything, but the fact that he had to replace Hurts injured. He came in that game. You can see his composure that he's always had, where he's kind of, nothing rattles him really. He just stays focused on, exactly as he said, what's in front of him. I think having Coach Flo kind of, with what he was saying about the meetings, one meeting kind of builds on top of what he's already doing, and he's starting to see results. I mean, you're seeing results right now, and I get it. It's training camp and everything else, but you're seeing results. You're seeing Tua grow not only as a player in the NFL, but also as a leader on the team. And that's only good for the Dolphins.
Yeah, and this message hits it on the head. Tua had no offseason last year. This is the year he can finally put all things together. And yeah, a big part of that is a lot of the excuses that I had last year for, why Tua wasn't putting up Dan Marino rookie numbers. A lot of the excuses I had last year hinged on his health. So there are no more excuses, and yeah, no more fits either. So you don't have all that confusion bringing in the closer when you feel like it and having the short hook on Tua. Tua knows it's his team this year. Couple words real quick on Miami Hurricanes fall camp. Manny Diaz, spoke a little bit on the Joe Rose show. I believe it was either this morning or yesterday morning. And, Diaz always says the right things in that the freshmen and the new guys, they need to earn their spot. That even if there's a hotshot freshman, you might think, and I might think, is going to be starting or playing big-time reps right away, Diaz emphasizes these guys have to earn it. He stated that all of the 2021 freshmen began the first 3 days of practice on the third team. Now, as Alan Rubenstein from Kane's Warning points out, guys like tight end Elijah Arroyo, defensive tackle Leonard Taylor, safety James Williams are the three Miami freshmen most likely to play on offense or defense right away. Kicker Andres Borregales is a lock as the starter, and he replaces his older brother. And by the way, Andres Borregales, the younger, who's just in as a freshman, he is supposed to be better than his older brother was, Jose. So Andres, we're even getting the better Borregales, and the previous Borregales was lights out. So Andres is going to be hitting probably 75 yarders in my projection this year. No official depth chart has been released for the Canes so far. Diaz wants to keep it that way until as close to the September 4th opener against Alabama as possible. And he jokingly said he's pretty sure about quarterback De'Aaron King and punter Lou Hedley in their positions. There are several other spots where players are likely secure. And yeah, James Williams is a dog. He's going to be playing a lot right away. He is a special talent. For those of you who did not follow this guy, he's a safety who has the size to play linebacker as well. He's a freakish athlete. James Williams is going to turn a lot of heads this year for the Miami Hurricanes. And yeah, I know we were talking about over-unders, last week with J-Rod. The number for Miami is 9. I think if I'm actually going to wager on it, I probably won't because I think they push. But I slightly lean towards the over. I could see Miami winning 10 games this coming season. The key there, though, is you can't let Alabama beat you multiple times because you open up against the Alabama Crimson Tide, which is basically an unwinnable game. Sorry to say it. I can say it. The team can't say it. It's basically an unwinnable game. How badly do you get beaten? How demoralizing is it? Could go a long way in defining your next few games and how you respond to it. You cannot let Alabama beat you multiple times this coming year. Want to throw a huge shout out to those who joined us today. Of course, Sean Stanley kicking ass behind the scenes. Manny Chang, who does awesome work, even though he tends to turn up and troll me a lot behind the scenes. I do appreciate Manny's contributions very much. Of course, our guests today, Louis D. Sung and Brady Hawk, for joining us. Guys, make sure you throw love to our sponsors. You Break Wheel Fix, who sponsors Terrible Take Tuesday. BetUS.com. Guys, I am raking in dough. When I made my deposit with our code word, that's right, Donno has your hookup. Use our code 5RSN125 when you sign up. If you sign up with a credit card, you get a 125% sign-up bonus. I deposited $150 last week, and then poof, like magic, there was $187.50 of free play money on top of my deposit in my account. I'm still using the free play money, and I'm cleaning up with BetUS. If you deposit with crypto, you actually get a 200% sign-up bonus with BetUS. Their customer service is impeccable. Their loyalty program is ridiculous. And guys, BetUS.com, the reason why it's my choice of sportsbook and why it's the official sportsbook of this program is they have odds on everything. And they don't cheat you on the odds the way that some sportsbook try to do. Fair, great odds, and they have everything. You're looking for college lacrosse, you can find it. You're looking for track and field, you can find it. You're looking for a game in the Turkish soccer league being played in the middle of the night or early in the morning, you can find it. They have odds on everything. And of course, NFL, NBA, NHL, they're entering their 27th NFL season coming up. Use America's favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, and use our code 5RSN125. And guys, stop by the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. You're looking for a place to grab a little lunch, a little late lunch after consuming this program? The Quarterdeck. They have the freshest seafood, the best burgers, unbelievable baby back ribs, and I love their sandwiches, guys. The Italian beef sandwich, the jerk chicken sandwich, freaking delicious. I get tater tots on the side, and it's so good. The beer is always ice cold. The cocktails will cure your ails. And most importantly, you can watch every UFC pay-per-view fight at the Quarterdeck for zero cover charge. Zero. You pay nothing at the door to watch a UFC pay-per-view fight. You don't have to spend the $70 at home. You don't have to go to one of these fly-by-night sports bars that try to charge you $20 a person at the door. Zero cover charge at the Quarterdeck. Visit them on the web and peep their menu at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck. Come for the food. Stay for the fun. All right, guys, we're going to have another fun show tomorrow. A miracle today. The chopper was not chasing me. I didn't have any helicopters looking for fugitives out there. So, Sean, I am safe.
Yeah, I was going to do it just to mess with you, but I decided against it. You can probably hear the chopper behind you, but I want to see if you would duck down if I started pointing, but I didn't decide not to do it to you.
Get to the chopper now. All right, we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. Same time, same place, 12 noon right here on 5R Live, 5 Reasons YouTube. By the way, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button because you want to be a subscriber to 5 Reasons Sports YouTube. So every time a show comes on, you get the notification. You see what's going on. We have so much fun here on 5 Reasons Sports. We will talk to you guys again tomorrow for another episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.